Welcome back to the Indiewood Podcast, a podcast about independent film and the many hats filmmakers wear in order to get those films made. Every month, I am joined by one such guest where we talked about their creative process and how they thrive in the medium of film. This month, I am joined by producer and creative development executive Andrew Lang, formerly of Dark Horse Comics. I'll get this. Paramount Pictures and Montecito Pictures. Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the last two episodes we talked about notes and we talked about like the zeitgeist of the industry and whatever the hell is happening nowadays. And I think it's really helpful for writers to kind of really get a grasp of how to succeed in the industry, how to break into the industry. And I think it's also helpful for directors, but I think for this episode, this is a good a segue to this episode's topic, talking about how writers can find producers and how producers find writers. And I guess we can start there. Like how do you find new writers?
The annoying answer is I find writers from reps.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But that's not always true.
That's not true because
it's not always true.
We met.
Yep.
I wasn't rep.
Yeah. And we talked about this before, but I don't remember what it was. It was a blacklist script. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. There's always going to be some some mechanism for getting a good script to be seen.
Yeah.
If it reaches a certain threshold, like that one of yours did, it got read by people, and it gets meetings and it gets you onto the thing, and then you keep going from there, right?
So I guess reps aside, like what are the mechanisms that you have used, blacklist aside, to find writers or to kind of like see material?
It's your I would say that mostly it's like competition-y type things. It's your Nichols, it's your blacklists, it's anything where there might be honestly someone cataloging and categorizing things and saying there's a competition. We had a screenwriting competition, and these are our winners. These were our top 10. These are our top 20. You'll find that people just will go yeah, well, I read stuff. I'll read those. I'll get in. I will take a look at those. I don't know that I can speak very well to kind of pitch fest round table-y things. I'm not sure that I can speak to the efficacy of those endeavors.
I feel like for those, your stuff has to be so good. I mean, it has to be you have to be in the pocket. Your script has to be top tier. It has to be a good idea, instantly communicable. And if it's not, because the producers in those pitch meetings or pitch fests, they're meeting 50 to 100 people, if not more, if not more, maybe less.
So if you've got a great high concept idea, that cuts through, great. Yeah. But if you've got something that might feel a little bit more generic in its log line, if it's two star-crossed lovers meet and they fall in love, that's people are going to perhaps roll their eyes at it. But what was the thing in that makes it unique? Oh, it's in this setting. It's these groups of people. Crazy Rich Asians was a pretty generic love story. Little bit of extra sauce on it with him being super rich and she being, a couple of dynamics, right?
It's Pretty Woman, but
a pretty generic idea, but in execution and in writing, so not what you would expect that to be, because it was telling it from a point of view of Singaporean people and a culture there, and something that you're this is just good. This is great. This is a thing I haven't thought of before. I haven't seen on screen with people that are very pretty people in a great locale. That changes that thing from what could possibly be an incredibly run-of-the-mill log line.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the log line stuff, because I really want to unpack what you see before you even start reading a script.
Yeah.
But for example, just to kind of give your perspective to people that are trying to get seen, you mentioned Blacklist, which is the platform. You mentioned Nichols, Too Well and Nichols. Okay, like that's a feat in and of itself. But also, are there any other competitions that you've personally been like, okay, let me just see what the winners are?
No, I can't speak to no, not that I can pull off the top of my head right now. They're out there, and agents and managers and the folks are reading them. I don't know that it's like it becomes a bandwidth issue for many people where it's like I don't know that I can always devote my time to looking at every smaller competition and pulling people from that. But plenty of reps do, because reps are always looking to sign people. They're always looking for good ideas. They are always looking for marketable, sellable scripts. So like they'll be checking them. They'll be, involved.
It's also harder when the festival has like multiple categories and like, okay, what are the winning scripts for ABC Festival? And it's like, here's 20 scripts. And I'm like, my reading list is 20 scripts today. Yeah. I'm not gonna pick one.
Yeah.
And that's always hard to do. But if you are a writer, like in the middle of the country or in a place that isn't connected to the industry, that's a good place to start. Like, see how you can do in the festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So coming back to that like concept or that idea of like the log line or the synopsis or the treatment, when you get a piece of material, like what's the first thing you're looking for as a gatekeep, like, so you're not wasting time reading 20 pages of a script. Like, what's that? Is it a log line that sparks interest?
Yeah.
Or is it a pitch or a synopsis? Like, what's a writer?
What's the most effective thing to do?
Yeah.
Well, look, if hopefully there is a completed script.
Yeah.
Right. There sort of has to be.
Are you going to read a completed script without seeing a log line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone would, but I think that if I got an email that said, "Here's a log line for a movie," and there's usually sort of your log line and then a blurb, if it's going by email, a little blurb that'll say like, "Look, this is a story thematically about this thing, and it's tonally as this meets this."
Yeah.
A little descriptor to kind of just provide a little extra. A little extra something so that you know what it is that you have. If then that's followed up with just a treatment, that's a downer. That's a bummer. A synopsis or like a short, like not a short story, but like something where it's not finished. If it's like, because if you like that idea, let me read that idea, but you don't have it. Oh, okay. See you in 6 months when you finished it. Like then I'm just waiting for the full thing.
Here's a question that I wanted to ask real quick, just before we dive deeper into that, because this is separate from. Kind of separate. What's your turnaround for a piece of material? Like, okay, it's good. You want to read it, but like, how much time goes by before you're like, what was that script again? Where it's just gone,
It varies.
Okay.
It really varies.
So like 3 to 6 months, like,
Wait, do you mean as in like when I get it to when I read it?
No. So like someone pitches you something like, hey, I have a log line. Here's, Die Hard on Mars, right? And you're like, great, let me read it. And they're like, cool, I have to finish writing it.
Yeah.
So like, how long are you going to wait, or until you've just moved on to something else?
You can wait as long as you want. If you like it, wait for that writer to finish it. You'll be doing other things.
Okay.
A producer or an executive's working on other things.
Yeah.
So when you come back to them with that fully finished script, they're going to go, oh, awesome, cool. I remember that. Chances are you remember it. Everyone's got a weirdly uncanny memory for like, wait, that was the thing about the thing, right? And it's
good.
like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
If
you liked it and you sparked to it, you're going to remember it.
How about for notes?
How long should there be for a turnaround for notes to a writer?
So like, let's say nothing's in active production, but you have interest in a script, and you're like, hey, let's work a little bit on this. I feel like there's something there. Let's get it up to here, and it was here. Let's get it, let's
get it up to there, and then we can start sending it around to some directors and whatnot.
So like, how long? Like if someone takes a year and they come back to you, how do you react to that versus like 3 months?
To execute notes or to finish a script?
Execute notes.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, okay.
If it's taking a long time, like if it's more than 2 months, it's like,
okay.
Oh, well, I sort of hate, because I don't want this to sound like sort of so negative, but it's like, if it's taking you more than like 2 months to turn around some notes, how much do you really care about this? Like, do you really want to do this then?
Yeah, unless you're like a rocket scientist, and your day job is, saving the world from asteroids.
There's always going to be,
there's something.
There might be something where like, I've worked with writers and they're like, a parent has died in the middle of writing it. And it's like, don't sweat it.
Yeah.
We understand. All good. But if I received your script of Die Hard on Mars and I was like, shit, I love this. This is really cool. But here's my notes. Bing, 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 bing. 4 or 5 things. And I don't see you for like 6 months. Like that's going to be a little weird of like, there will be a deflation and there's going to be maybe a loss of like some inertia of like, well, I was really excited about this. Like, the turnaround should have been a little faster. And again, I just understand that you're being asked to turn around something for no money, most likely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's, again, there's a give and a take. There's an understanding that like they're not expecting it 1 week, but timely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the theme of the industry is like, what's the answer to this question? I don't know. What do you want it to be?
Yeah.
I mean, like short but fast, but good, but not bad. It's vagueness. The industry is like full of vague answers.
I do feel like there's it kind of explains a lot about the industry. It's like it's answering a question with a question.
Yeah.
I always used to joke like on set it was hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we're in at 8 a.m. and it's like great, we're all set up to shoot by like 8:25, but no one's out of their wardrobe, their trailer until 9:30.
Yeah.
We all hurried up to wait.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of that, the similar kind of thing that happens in this where it's like you want things to move forward quickly, but that doesn't necessarily mean immediate. Has to be, but it can't be like too far out. It's more about like efficient moving rather than speed in moving.
It's like it's either 6 months or 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And maybe in between. I don't know. So back to the initial, like the original conversation for this episode, just finding writers, and we talked about like the log line and what you kind of see. So you
the interest in the project. It's like if I get something in an email that says like here's a log line and here's a thing, I want that script and I go, oh, that sounds interesting. That I spark to that thing. I want to read that script.
Do you ever sell, or do you think that there's ever? I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but where someone pitches and they get like they're like the studio or the producer's like, great, write it. Here's money. Like we'll pay you to write it.
Does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to happen in like 0.5% of cases, if not fewer. That's going to happen to big name people, or in the very crazy likelihood that it's going to happen to someone who has the most incredible idea possible. I have only ever seen an in the room pitch get sold once at Paramount. We bought something, never got made. I think we got a script off of it. I think I'd left Paramount by the time the script came in, but I remember asking old friends, like, whatever happened to that thing? And they were like, the script wasn't that good. But they bought that. And again, but the only reason they bought that script in the room and paid someone to write it was I don't know that I should say
just
names.
A big name writer.
An incredibly big actress and her production company.
Did she write it?
No, she did not write it. She was a producer on it, and she is one of the biggest of all time.
Yeah, interesting.
And that's the reason why that got an in-the-room purchase. It amounted to nothing. People got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to write trash in the end.
It's a weird thing with like when you have that established relationship or you're high up in the industry, you have had success. I remember a producer at Legendary, one of my former professors at UCLA, he said he worked with like a big writer and the first draft came in and was like, what is this? Like, what is this? It's bad. It's trash. Like, this is not a great script. And then through the writing process, they like ironed out all the things and kind of, a throwback to the previous episode, things happen in a rewrite.
Yeah. I've had writers that I know had finished 60% of a script and then it was due the next day.
Oh, no.
And they turned in a full script. So I know that they wrote 40% of a script overnight.
And that can happen. And you can have good material ish.
Ish.
You can do it a couple times. Maybe you can do it better when you're younger. I can't do that anymore. I've written a script in a week, from idea to first draft. And there was some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Nope.
Okay. These old bones. Yeah. So, okay.
So, but the sort of the sub issue or the other issue about how I discover writers or how I get to know writers, I would say, and again, I sort of speak partially in that I was lucky in the rarefied air of I worked at an established company or companies, and there was already a relationship with myself and with the company, with reps, with managers, and with agents around town. So that is how I would get everything. So outside of the trying to find new writers, or you hope you do. And there's plenty of managers that take on new writers.
Yeah.
I've gotten plenty of scripts from managers and some agents where it's here's the first thing this person has written. I read a short thing they did and I signed them, and this is the first thing they wrote, and we're sending it out. Here it is.
I feel like that's your first gatekeeping moment where someone's trusted them with this.
Yeah.
And they've been vetted on some level.
I would say it's rare for a writer to know a producer without management or a rep involved in some capacity. It does happen, of course. There's just going to be writers that know producers directly.
Yeah. I mean,
but
we met like that. Yeah.
Right. It's because it does happen, but that's I would say that's just on the more rare side of that, because a rep's going to give you more exposure. They're going to send you out.
Yeah.
They're going to have you take meetings. They're going to have you pitch on things. They're going to have you doing more things. And a relationship with a producer will yield far less opportunity, because that producer is locked into having to deal with the slate of the projects that he has. Or, in my case, it was comic books only. And you had to kind of stick pretty strictly to what you had to work on.
Yeah.
And so the writer, but you've got to wait for the mystical alignment of when that person's available and willing, and go, I've got this thing. Are you interested? And that's alchemy at that point.
Yeah. And reps are something I wanted to kind of touch on as well, because they kind of tie everything together. All these relationships, and I guess that's what they're there for. Do you see a difference in agents and managers from your perspective?
Yeah, there's a difference. I think that you could argue in a general kind of 50,000 foot view that they kind of do the same thing, that they're relatively interchangeable, wink, wink. I think that during the strikes, I think you saw a lot of agents leave and become managers.
Yeah.
So
let me produce for you.
Ultimately, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ultimately, there's a very slight difference in what they do. An agent might be more about getting you a job, and a manager might be more about working with you on your stuff and producing it and helping it along and helping your career along. But I mean, they, again, I'm speaking relatively broadly, they kind of all do the same thing.
Yeah.
There's good ones and bad ones.
I was going to ask if you prefer working with a rep.
I prefer working with managers.
Okay.
I find them more approachable.
Okay.
I think agents can just sort of, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel like agents are more driven by the dollar and by what job there is and what they can slot a writer into.
Interesting.
An agent will get a TV writer a job. They're going out for it. They'll send them out for it. And an agent will help you if there's an open writing assignment on a feature that we have set up at a studio. Go talk to agents, because agents will be like, this person's available, we'll get this person in for it, we'll send this person. I'm also going to call the executive at the studio and talk to them about my writer that I'm sending you to read right now. So that's about slotting someone in with a need, versus a manager might be I always found it better to talk to, I liked talking to managers more because they were a bit more amenable to figuring something out with you.
I think they have a more creative approach to they're more career oriented instead of job oriented.
I just found them better to talk to in that regard.
Yeah.
If I have a comic book that's completely just what do you do with this? And they're you could have a conversation about that person a little bit easier. But again, case by case, company by company for sure. going to be
so
very
different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really different. There's definitely different cultures at CAA to WME to UTA, you know.
Is there a difference for you, and when you were at Paramount, Montecito, and then Dark Horse, for like finding scripts versus writers? Because sometimes like you like a piece of material and you want to make that, and sometimes you find a writer. So
it's both.
Okay.
It's all, yeah. The answer is yes. The answer is on the buying side, you want a project. Doesn't mean you don't meet with a writer, and if they pitch you something and you go, that's a pretty good idea, like, you know, come back to me when that's like a completed thing. I would say that, you know, you got to do both.
Yeah.
In my position, you have to do both. You're always looking for a spec. And the spec market's so weird now anyway, and they really only want to send specs to like the big companies. They want to send it to 21 Laps and to Roy Lee and to Vertigo and to, you know, Blumhouse only.
Yeah.
You know, they want to keep it very like pure in that way. So they're not always going to reach out to number 50 on their list of coming to Dark Horse and sending it to me. But you're always looking for that spec. But like, you know, you've got to develop like the good thing about being a producer is you will get to develop stuff. It's not always about sending a writer off to go write and finish it alone. Sometimes, and I've brought ideas to writers, you know, and you try to develop it and you go like in good faith working with someone to try and figure out an idea that you had or that idea with that writer. And you go, oh, that's a good one. Like, let's see if we can figure that out. You've got to do all of it.
I appreciate the insight because I think a lot of writers don't learn how to like navigate that nebulous world of I finished writing a script and then it's on the big screen. Like what happens in between?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't go the festival route.
Yeah.
And so my final question to you would be, when a writer and a producer meet, and maybe in your experience, sometimes a writer's like, let's make something. Let's go do the thing. Here's a script, like read it and let's make it. Which feels a little too eager. And like, I totally get it. Right. And some people are just like, I wrote a script and I want to sell it. And I'm like, good luck. 2 thumbs up. But how, I guess in your experience, the relationships with writers that you've had, what was the most successful approach to nurturing that relationship, specifically from like a professional point of view? So what, like, instead of the writer coming to you every week with an idea, you know, how can emerging writers and younger writers work with a producer to nurture a professional relationship without kind of being thirsty, for lack of a better word?
I mean,
you know?
that's an interesting, because I think there's always a fine line of being too friendly and too personal and thinking that you're like real life friends versus work
like
colleagues. And it's a hard thing to navigate, you know, because we've all been in jobs in real life and in this industry where you're like, you think you're great friends with someone you work with and then you don't work with them and you never freaking see them again.
Yeah.
So I think, how do you do that? Like, I think there's nothing, anyone like me, a producer, a manager, an agent, will never not say, yeah, let's go grab a meal or a coffee. Totally. Why not? But yeah, like, I mean, what's the number per month? Like that's a difficult thing because some people would just be like, oh God, I don't want to do this again.
That guy or that girl.
But I don't think anyone will ever turn down like simple email communication of like, you know, I wrote this thing, here it is, or I had this idea. I don't think it's ever wrong to stay in contact with people. You know, I think the one of the things that I do notice a lot is that like I have tried with writers that I fucking love and to try to develop something with them. And it's just, sometimes it doesn't work and the timing isn't quite right. They're not available, or we talk about something and it's like, oh, that's a really good one. Do you want to try and figure that out? And it's like, oh, I got this other stuff I have to do. There's like, that's the nature of it'll always be a misstep industry.
Yeah.
But I think if you like, the overall is like, for me is like, but if you're going with your best foot forward and it's genuine and, you know, then like always do that. Just know that like everyone's going to get annoyed at some point. there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
annoying someone.
And that's just friendships in
and
general.
that's just friendships
Yeah.
in general, and
Yeah.
that's work friendships, and that's regular friendships, right? I think that but like, if you want to work with that person, like, remember that they are a work colleague, and come with something, and be willing to like say like, hey, you want to develop this with me?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be good. Like, I liked doing that thing with you previous. Like, let's try and you want to try and figure this thing out with me? I think this could be really good.
Yeah.
Chances are they're going to say, yeah,
Sure.
yeah, sure.
I guess the other thing to end on would be like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, no is fine. No is a okay answer to get. But sometimes, most of the time, people will be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll work with them on something and it'll be good. And
Yeah.
And I guess if you're trying to maintain a relationship when you don't have anything, have lunch every 6 months.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Just get a coffee and just
have a Zoom meeting.
have a Zoom meeting.
On that note, thank you, Andrew, for coming in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. See you next week. Thank you for listening to the Anywood Podcast. You can find us anywhere you find your podcasts or on YouTube on the Cinematography for Actors YouTube channel. See you next week.
From the CFA Network, Cinematography for Actors is bridging the gap through education and community building. Find out about us and listen to our other podcast at cinematographyforactors.com. Cinematography for Actors Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit. For more information on fiscal sponsorship, donations, because we're tax exempt now, so it's a tax write-off, and upcoming education, you can email us at contact@cinematographyforactors.com. Thanks.